Welcome to the Face-to-Face podcast, your go-to resource for living a life of vitality, wholeness, and authenticity. I am one of your hosts, Melinda Wilson.
And I'm your other host, Kathy Little. Join us as we explore deeper connection, lasting freedom, and meaningful relationships with God, others, and your true self. Let's dive in. Hey everybody.
Hey.
We're coming to you from California. We're actually already on the West Coast in Pacific Coast time.
Love it.
Because we have Dashway coming up in August and family out here that we're able to stay with. And it kind of gets us out of the humidity. Like, I'm so sorry if you're in South Carolina.
Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh, it's hotter than heck. Lots of humidity.
Help me, Jesus. Yeah. You walk outside even at 10 p.m. and you just start sweating immediately.
Yep.
I think you should, my thing is you should earn your sweat. Like, I don't want to sweat without working out hard.
That's true.
Otherwise, it's waste and then you have to take a shower and it's like, no, I didn't earn this. I shouldn't be sweating for doing nothing. Just saying.
You know, this girl grew up in California where there's no humidity, so
yeah,
it's even worse.
Me in the Southeast
Yeah.
don't know. The humidity and I are like, no, we've tried to be friends. It's just not going to
No.
So
We have two very quick things to tell you about, though. One is Dashway coming up.
yay. August 15th to the 17th. Gives you more time than if it was in July.
We have 3 spots left,
Only 3
ladies.
spots
Just
in
3.
Tahoe.
Only 3.
Lake Tahoe.
So sign up now, dashawayweekends.com. And the second thing, I don't know if we told you guys, we have 32 students in level 1 of the Immanuel Institute learning about the Immanuel approach for applications for their life and small groups and ministry and stuff like that. And we have another round of that coming up in September. And it's going to run mid-September, like the week of the 16th through the last week of October. And you can actually sign up for that. You can enroll and get tuition paid straight up. It's $395 for 7 weeks and that is available at ImmanuelInstitute.com. So we'd love to have you join us.
And that is really the gateway, the entrance point into
prerequisite
our year-long intense Immanuel training,
practicum.
Which, if you are interested in becoming a practitioner in Immanuel approach, this is what you want to do. Very thorough. It includes one-on-one sessions for your own healing, lots of practice, getting coached in real time, and there's nothing like it.
The thing that I'm really loving about this group of people that we have in this level 1 right now, several of them have already been exposed to the Immanuel approach. They use it to whatever level they've learned it in different contexts, and they're eating this up, saying that it's like nothing they've ever done. They're loving the thoroughness. They're ready to sign up for level 2, which starts in September. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
And we have coaches and pastors and PhD trauma people. It's incredible, the people that we have. So this is not just for kind of like, well, we'll just see. It can be for that. But people are using this professionally, even just the level 1, but many are signing up for level 2, and that's the more intense, rigorous training. And we invite you into level 1 coming up in September, and then into the next step, which will start if you do foundations in this fall, and then you can start level 2, January. Thorough 9-month in January.
Yeah, and I'm actually just getting ready to launch an 8-module training on the basics of understanding trauma, which is included in tuition for those going into level 2, and really excited about that. We're going to include it, but it's also going to be available a la carte, but it's mostly to help our people really understand the neuroscience and understand trauma, and then also see how beautifully designed the Immanuel approach is to work with people who experience that. So, but all of that out of the way, now let's just talk about Jessie Cruickshank, who is our guest, and I'm telling you, she blew our minds.
Yeah, I think get ready to hold on to your hat. She's Harvard educated, as well as she has taught at Harvard, so this is,
she knows her stuff.
She's no slouch, people.
Yeah.
But she's such an excellent communicator. I loved having this conversation with her, and we had heard her a few weeks before at a conference, and was so really, and not just encouraged, but fascinated by what she shared, identity formation theory. Just wait, you guys, and you're going to want to take notes.
Yes.
So welcome to Jessie Cruickshank Part 1.
Yes, we had to break it up. It's a really great interview, and you'll get a good taste this week that's going to propel you into the next episode. It's awesome.
Thanks for listening.
Here we go. Well, Jessie, I'm so excited that we get to hear from you in this context and have that personal interaction, because we did get to hear your breakout session at the Transform conference a little while ago with Life Model. And as I was telling you, it was one of my highlights, because the stuff that you carry and are talking about today, I'm so excited for other people to hear, because it is really fresh and new perspective and really helpful. It's very, very helpful. So Jessie Cruickshank, and we were talking about all of your titles, but the one you said you love the most is a neuro-ecclesiologist, which you're going to have to unpack for everybody, because who knows what that is.
I want someone to guess what that means. I mean, like, from context, let's some linguistic people are going to, or word nerds are going to be like, ooh,
yeah,
brain and ecclesiologist, the study of the church, related, the study of the body of churches, study of church. So you're a brainy student of church.
No. I hope everybody's watching the video, because Jessie is laughing. I hope everybody's watching the video. If you're not, pull it up on YouTube.
It's so good.
This is hilarious. We'll turn
to
loose.
So an ecclesiologist is a person. It's okay. Yeah, an ecclesiologist is a person who helps the church. And so for me, the church, the bride, I feel like is my mission field, is my assignment. And as a trained neuroscience and cognitive psychologist, I bring that to the work that I do with the church. So it's a word I made up because there's not a job description for what I do. Organizational psychologist for the church, just seems really long. And neuro-ecclesiologist sounds really sexy. So that's the one I picked.
You know what, Jessie, because you're a Harvard grad, you can make up whatever word you want. And no one's going to argue with you, because how many people have gone to Harvard? Hello. And not that other people's education doesn't count, but we know there's definitely, you got to be pretty darn smart to get in there. So yeah, just to give you you know what you're talking about, in other words. But yeah,
I have the debt to prove it.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I'm sure.
Along with the high education come the high school loan. But what made you go into that kind of work? And even organizational psychologist, that does my head in a little bit, because I'm thinking I need a psychologist to be organized. So if that is what you're talking about, but I'm sure it's not. But help us understand you a little bit more and the journey that you've been on to get you where you are now.
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's really great to be with you too. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It will.
I hope we don't leave anybody in the dirt with just our levity and,
you got to have
laughter.
Some levity though. If you get too intense, don't worry, I'll turn up the volume or bring it up to surface level levity if it gets way too deep and people are like, I'm driving and I had to pull over. So we'll go up a little bit if that happens.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I am from the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. That's where I was born. It's not technically called the middle of nowhere. It's called Thermopolis, but it is a town of 1,500. It's the least populated county in the least populated state of the nation.
No way.
So it might as well be the middle of nowhere. Yep. And I went to a state school. I went to the University of Wyoming for my undergrad. And when I came out of that, I went into full-time ministry. I thought I was going to be a high school science teacher, high school chemistry teacher. But instead, I graduated from college and the Lord invited me to go into full-time ministry. So I was invited to help a wilderness school become accredited. Now, when I say school, at the time, it was a ministry out of the Foursquare Church in Laramie, and we had a few courses a summer and we called it Hoods in the Woods. And we wanted to, the founder wanted to, and felt like he was supposed to make it and help it grow into something that was accredited, that could get college credit, that could just be more reputable. And in my undergrad, I have 3 majors and 3 minors. So I got 6 degrees in that time, but one of them was in education. And so I knew accreditation, I knew standards. So I had been guiding. I'd been guiding rock climbing. I'd been guiding whitewater rafting. I'd been guiding high altitude mountaineering. And so I could say yes to this job and build the infrastructure to move from a ministry out of the church, out of the garage of the founder's house, into a full-fledged organization with the same reputation as Outward Bound and Knowles. So we built this immersion discipleship school, same level as accreditation as Knowles and Outward Bound. And I was 23. Whoa. And I shared leadership with 2 other guys, one of which was 23, and the other one, when he came on 3 years later, he was 22 and we were 25. So we all had the outdoor skills, but because I had studied education in my undergrad, I wanted to learn how to teach somebody something once and have them remember it with a high degree of accuracy. So our programs ran from 10 to 40 days. We would have 40 days in the wilderness, and these are adults that are taking the 40-day program. And it might be a week or 2 from when they would learn how to use an ice axe to self-arrest on a snowfall. It might be 2 weeks before they would be on the side of the mountain, roped up to each other, and need to use that skill. So my dad has a PhD in adult learning and brain science. I'm a mini-me of him. And so I was just starting applying brain science to practice. I'm like, okay, how do we teach somebody something once and have them remember it at a high degree of accuracy? Like how to tie into the rope or self-arrest with an ice axe. And very quickly, though, that conviction and interest became a discipleship one. So especially on our shorter courses, how could I have a conversation with a student and their eternity be impacted if I only had 20 minutes, if I only had an hour, like a real talk alone with them? And it turns out that those are the same thing. It turns out that having a memory that you can access 2 weeks later and having a conversation that changes your life is actually the same. It's the same process in the brain. And so I got interested out of risk management, then out of discipleship. And eventually, in my 30s, I went to Harvard for grad school and took the model of learning with me that we had built at the wilderness program. So the wilderness program is called Solid Rock Outdoor Ministries. It's still there. It's thriving. It's amazing. And they use the life model. So I was learning life model about the same time that they were learning life model when I was at grad school. And when I came back from grad school and like these worlds just kind of really connected. But I wanted to be effective with the little bit of time that we had with students, because you just never know. And it's a privilege of a student opens up and lets you into their world and lets you into their life. So all of the work that I have done since then is just all about being effective and working with how God made me. So I have this strong conviction that God is really smart and God knows what he's doing. Yeah. And God made our brains in our bodies in a way that we are successful at the things he's asked us to. So if it's not working, if we're feeling like a failure, I feel like that's the enemy's narrative. That's not God's story. So I want to know, what are we doing? Not what are we doing wrong, but where have we been talked into doing the wrong thing? Because I don't think God sets us up for failure. So for me, the biology and the Bible are the 2 things that I go to for, wait, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to live? What is this supposed to look like? So both of those have been my conviction and what I've studied now for 25 years, 27 years.
Are you ever surprised?
So that's kind of how I got here.
Are you ever surprised about just people, behavior, knowing how complex we are? Does anything ever surprise you, like behavior or people's problems? Or do you see a consistent pattern just throughout humanity in general?
Well, there's a saying in psychology, and so organizational psychology is how people as groups behave, and they behave in structures of organizations, because organizations have implicit or social contracts in systems and processes, and so that actually compels behavior, or people reject it. You know, the software that you won't use because it's not intuitive. That's all psychology. So psychology has this saying that people individually are unpredictable, but people on the whole are very predictable. So you actually, the larger the group, the more predictable the behavior is. And so I really like complex problems. I think about things like with an engineering architecture brain, like people are, and people, and when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a con artist. I thought that would be amazing. And the skills I use aren't all that different. I just use them for good. Like, that's Jesus in me. Jesus in me is using the same skills for good. But like, how do you brainwash somebody, and how do you get them to do a thing what they don't know that they're doing, but they're moving along the direction you want them to go, right?
Oh my word.
So those were some of the things I studied and became very interested in. But the fascinating thing is that an aha moment actually has to happen in the conscious mind. And so I can use all these Jedi ninja tricks to like get people moving in a direction, but the last part has to be a reveal, because there is a place where they do have to choose. And sometimes, like, usually that's a choose no, but I want them to be like 80% on their way towards the way that God is leading them. So that I'm like, oh, you come on, it's just another step. That's how I got people up mountains, right? It's just one more step. You can totally do it. It's not look how far you've come already, right? So can kind of help people in the way, have the courage and the bravery to do the thing that God is leading them in and asking them to do. And I just want to partner with that. So that's partnering with the biology and the Holy Spirit, and what the Holy Spirit's doing. So I'd probably be pretty terrifying if I didn't fear the Lord. But the good news for the world is that I do.
Well, yeah. I'm like, what do you think you'd be doing if you didn't have some kind of moral compass? You'd be a con artist.
Yeah, I probably would have been a con artist. Yeah.
No. Oh my God.
I'd be rich at least.
Yeah. There you go.
This is already like so mind-blowing, and it's so intriguing too, because I didn't expect you to say that that's one of the things you would want to be as a con artist. But it is interesting that you're finding the same things applying. I don't know, is it a secret, or can you tell us, like, what are those things? I'm really curious now.
Oh, I have a commitment to always reveal if anybody asks, did I just manipulate you? So I mean, there's lots of interesting techniques. Like, I'm aware of whether or not we're in attunement, and I know we're in attunement so one thing you can do, this is, if anybody's listening to this, you have to use this for good, but you can create attunement by mimicking the behavior of the person in front of you, and then you'll sync with their brain, and they will start to feel connected, and then you start to do actions to see if they follow you. And then they're attuned to you, because you'll attune to the strongest mind in the room. And so it's a way to help. I use it in conflict especially if I'm already in a place of power or leadership. I want to take the posture of low power to attune to the person that I'm working with or I'm talking to, because I am actually on their side. I don't want them to be defensive, because then they're not going to be as teachable. So I do things to help them feel more comfortable, feel like I'm a partner, and then I can help them with that baby step, hopefully, unless they just reject and rebel, which has happened. But I take that baby step towards, hey, maybe God is trying to work something out in me. Maybe there is a thing that he's inviting me into that I can say yes to.
Oh, it sounds like sales too. Like, good salesmen, saleswomen are that they know how to sell something. And I'm not saying you're trying to sell something, but it sounds similar technique, getting inside their brain, getting inside their head, basically, and helping them see you're not just out to get them. But if you're kind of a schmoozy or sleazy salesperson, it's like they don't really care. They're going to come in and through the side door. But it is fascinating, because we're probably doing a lot of that without even knowing, or people do that intuitively or unconsciously, not even really knowing that they're doing something that is a behavioral or psychological key or step into connecting with someone. I mean, that attunement piece, we teach that all the time, and the person feels seen. And I think that I think if you're really connecting with someone, I went to acting school for several years, and one of the kind of primary base exercises we would do is the mirroring thing, where you just stand together face to face, and you don't even know who's leading, and one of you starts doing movements with your face or your tongue or your hand, and you don't know where one person starts and the other one ends, and you don't even know who's actually leading the movement, and you become like one unit. And it's really listening well. It's so attuning in with that person. And it's just fast. I love hearing the science behind it, though, and why it is what it is. Like, I see so much intuitively experience it. And then when I hear the science or the research behind it, it's, for me, it even takes it to a deeper level and is like super eye-opening. Jessie, I wonder if we could talk about what Kathy and I were both really taken by, and gave us so much to chew on with your identity formation theory. And right there is not something I made up. I think you did, but the workshop that you taught a couple weeks ago. But I'd love to have you take us through the phases of that, what that is, first of all, how you came up with it, why it's important, and however you want to take us through each phase would be great, that you feel would be relevant to our listeners.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for that. Just is kind of a bridge from what we were just talking about, is the reason why I care about these brain processes and partnering with people is that life is a journey and formation is a journey, and we're not created to do it alone. In fact, we can't. And I see my role, and every person's role as a disciple maker, to partner with at least one other person for at least a season or a chapter of their formational journey. And, I like the journey as opposed to sales. I want to be with you in the long term, because there's going to be a sucky part that you're going to get to, and you're going to need help, and you're going to need encouragement, and you're going to need a friend in that. And so, creating attunement and building relational capital, earning the right to be with people in their dark moments is a tremendous privilege, because I just want to see people make it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I just really care that people make it.
Yeah.
It's really important to me. In light of that, I've been studying like how humans develop in the way that they think about themselves and their personhood. And at Harvard, I was introduced to a guy, not personally, he's dead. Well, he died right after that, but I was introduced to the work of James Fowler and his work on faith. Oh my gosh, stages of faith development. I had to look at my book for a second. It fell out of my brain. So stages of faith development. And I took stages of faith development back to the Solid Rock Outdoor Ministries, the Wilderness School, and started teaching my staff these stages of the way people make meaning of their faith. And it's a theory that came out of Harvard in the 70s, wherein a lot of formational human development theories were being written. And it combines a whole bunch of them, lines them up, and then adds, how do we think about our spirituality in these different phases that other people have also described. So it combines Erickson and moral development and Piaget and Bob Selman's bounds of social awareness. It combines a bunch of them. So it's very robust, based on how humans grow and change over their life. So I'm teaching it to my staff, and I have to articulate it in a way that a 25-year-old or 27-year-old who has not a PhD, does not have a PhD in psychology, a way that they can understand. And because my specific work is in autobiographical memory, which we can talk about if you want, but my specific work in autobiographical memory, I know that the journey of discipleship is the journey of identity formation and how we tell our own story. So I worked on articulating faith development theory in terms of I am and God is. And just looking at how do we disciple somebody in each one of those phases. I was sharing it with Dr. Wilder in the fall, like literally like 7 months ago, my big spreadsheet of characteristics for each stage, how people's character is formed, how to disciple them, and then what spiritual maturity looks like. And I was just to have another person look at it, you know, because you always want somebody else to look at your work and say, oh, you missed this or you forgot that, and make it better. And he did help with a couple things, but he suggested that this was no longer Fowler, that I had evolved it so much that it's a new thing, especially with the I am, God is, naming it in terms of identity, not just cognitive development, and challenged me to find a name for it. So I met with my team and we named it very obviously and easily Identity Formation Theory. So it's based on Fowler's work, probably 40%, you know, I would say is Fowler's work, but it's a different lens at which I look through it. And I articulated some of the later phases that Fowler had not. So
wow,
he just knew they were there. He didn't know how to describe them. So that's kind of the background of it.
You created something new. I mean, I love that because you've combined some things and you've taken it to the next step. So basically you're standing on the shoulders of the ones before you. So well done for that. And Jim Wilder would be the one to talk to. I'm glad that you had that encouragement from him to even kind of, I don't know if it's branded or trademarked or whatever that title it would be, but just to have something to run with. So I'm excited for you to unpack that for us. That's awesome. Go for it.
And I do want to come back to autobiographical memory, which I wrote down and highlighted.
Yes.
And come back to, because I'm very intrigued.
It's just this beauty of the way that God made us. So one thing to know about human development is that every person, the natural growth of their brain, every child develops a concept of God. So having a concept of God exists for every child because as their brain grows, they become aware of something that has impact on their life or their world that's outside of them. And when they do that, it just creates this little compartmentalization. We call it God. And based on the home or the world that they grow up in, the culture that they grow up in, they're told how to interpret that. So even if you have a child who, and they've done this research, even if you have a child who grows up in an atheist home, they still create this sense of God. And then they have to learn that it's not a thing. So it's just a natural part of how we're grown and made. So we can talk about what God is because it's just, like I said, God is really, really brilliant. And he really has set us up for success at knowing him. So we'll start at phase 0. Phase 0 is birth till about 18 to 20 months. There's specific brain changes for each of these transitions, which is just big nerd words, so we won't worry about it. But phase 0, infancy. An infant's I am here. They are aware and becoming aware that they exist. And they know they exist because somebody's looking at them. And they know they exist because they have like a hand that they can move in front of their face. And so I am here. And what the heck does that mean? For an infant, then, God is everything other than me. So their parents or their caregiver and God are treated the same in their cognitive development. That could either be really great news or really terrible news for your listeners. So the way that an infant experiences their caregivers not only maps on to those caregivers, whether that's security or neglect, whether that's responsive to their needs or not, however they perceive their caregivers, that is also mapped on to their identity and their sense of God. So if their caregivers that's a positive experience, then God will be a positive entity. If that experience is negative, then God is a negative entity to them. And in order to grow out of that, you need like a lot of deep, deep psychotherapy for that. It's repairable. It is repairable. It's just a lot of work. So even though infants can't remember things, what they experience, the responsiveness to their needs, can they cry and someone shows up? Can they need changed or be hungry? Can they be hot or cold? And like that's addressed, even if they don't have language for it. Like that experience, even though they don't remember it, is the foundation for how they interact with the world. And we all know that. So it's also the foundation for how that individual will interact with God for the rest of their life. Yeah. So there is a spiritual maturity for an infant. And that is that they can be consoled, that they have trust, they can cry, they can be angry, they can reattach, they can be upset, they can calm down. And so the foundation for secure attachment and that connection with the caregiver is the foundation for spiritual maturity. So that's phase 0.
Well, yeah, we talk a lot about attachment theory, and it all is established in those first 2 years of life, right?
Yeah.
Your attachment style.
The trajectory start. Yeah, it started there. And I just read some research this morning that if you have a child with a sensitive temperament that's hard for them to calm, their brain can actually heal if their caregiver is responsive to that and learns how to attune to them and their rhythm and what they need. They can actually calm and create a resilient child. The child doesn't have to have a sensitive reactionary temperament for the rest of their life. So I just read that this morning, and one of the neuroscience, magazines that I get.
Awesome.
So brain development, as the brain grows, then they'll grow into phase 1, which is about that 24 months until about 6 or 7. So the fun toddler years. And for a toddler, their I am is I am who others name me to be. I am how I'm named. So I am Jessie, I am a girl, I am loud, I am energetic, right? We have positive things and negative things that we were named, but that's how they understand themselves. I am how you name me. So God is Santa Claus. And what we mean by that is he's an entity in the sky and he's judging us whether we're on the good list or the naughty list, because I am what I'm named. So if I am named as bad, then I am, as an essence, bad, or I am in essence good. I am in essence valuable, or I am in essence too much. And based on how we're named in those toddler years, the essentially 2 to 6 or 7, we own as states of being. So with God looking at us and assessing that, we become aware of the negative reactions of other people. And it's just it's very binary, right? It's the God with two faces. So he's either happy or sad. Our parent is either happy or sad. The kid is either happy or sad, right? So this is when a kid will yell at their parent, like, I hate you, because they have negative feelings, right? So it's very black, white in that dynamic. So the problem is how we name them, or if we neglect to name them as positive things, is extraordinarily problematic. It's really important to name your kids with their gender, with their name, that they're loved, that they're valuable, and have that conversation. It's important for their brain development. It's important for their soul development. It's important for their identity formation. If you don't scaffold that, then they don't know who they are. Like they're nothing. And that creates a lot of problems.
Yes, I would imagine so. What you just said feels very significant. And people can probably read between the lines on why.
Yeah. And that seems to be becoming more and more prevalent of, I'm going to let my baby choose its gender. And I've even heard, we're not going to comment on it. It's just, this is what's going on. Or I'm going to let my baby, I've even heard this, I'm going to let my baby choose its name when it's old enough to come up with a name. And it's so fascinating to hear. Like, it doesn't, how would it even know unless it's told or reflected, this is how and who you are? And where do you think that like stems from, Jessie, as far as the parent? And again, not a judgmental or criticism, but I like, what would cause a parent to approach, parenthood that way of, I'm just going to let you? Is it because we've like kind of rebelled against we're going to be disciplined and strict and be so polar opposite of that there's zero sort of compass at all? I mean, just help us understand that a little bit, because we're seeing it all around us.
Yeah. And I did study genetics, and I understand sex chromosome anomalies and transgenderism as a genetic situation. This is not that, right? So I think part of the problem, I don't know if it's a rejection as much, Melinda, but I think that people think that identity is a blank slate and we can choose whatever we are. And it's not. It's never a blank slate. Scripture is just super clear. Like, God calls us by name. God names us. And he named Jesus, he named John, he named so many people in Scripture. So many places in Scripture it says that God is the God who calls us by name, and that he knows who we are as we are being knit together in our mother's womb. He knows every day of our life. I'm not a fatalist in that, but it means that our identity isn't a blank slate. And so I think we don't appreciate the role we have in one another's lives of shaping identity. And we've neglected identity formation spiritually. Like, it's not what we do. We teach disciplines. We teach doings. We don't teach beings. And it has led us in this direction where we don't value the being, and understanding the being is a journey. And as an infant, we know a toddler cannot get a job or plow a field and plant crops, and we have to feed them. We need to have the same respect for their identity formation. We have to scaffold it. They hate that food. We can have that conversation, right? They want to change their name when they're older because, I've had friends who do that because of parents and parents who have left. There's reasons people have done that. There's a point at which that choice, they are cognitively and emotionally ready for that. And it makes sense. Not if they're a child, not if they're under the age of 6 or 7, like it's detrimental.
I know how Jessie, and I know because this all is pertinent, I think, to all the stages, and I knew that we would kind of go off into different chapters. If you're looking at identity formation theory, each one is a book. These are different chapters of the books, but how do we help somebody then, just keeping it on that topic for a moment? Because I feel like most of us, if not all of us, are at some point going to meet or be friends with, or maybe our friends in their kids that are in their 20s or earlier that are really having this identity crisis, if you want to call it that. So how can we help people that are at that place?
Yeah, I think the help is easy, because if we, you come across somebody who says, I'm stupid, right? It's still, whether you've named yourself out of you've had to do that because you were neglected in that way, right? If your family didn't name you, then you had to step into that, right? That's a precocious development, and we can help each other in that. The same way that if you'd been named poorly and somebody had told you were horrible, or told you that you were bad, or told you that you were unworthy and unlovable, we, at any time that we are with somebody else and we hear them being poorly named or naming themselves, right? They're parroting either a name they've given themselves because of a situation, an incident, and the enemy named them, or, they were named poorly by those around them and the enemy uses somebody else's voice to name them. We can help with it instead. And on our courses in the wilderness, for a course, we would have an I was, I am statement. And so they would name the thing that the Holy Spirit is helping them walk away from, the thing that they're putting down. So I have some of them like I was a mistake. This was a gal who had been adopted. I was a mistake. Her birth was, not the best circumstances. But she now is, I am a miracle. So we help them with a replacement of an I am to help name them well from what we see, and help them receive that as a name for themselves. So we can rename people all the time. We'll just need to do it more. I see there's a spectrum of intensity I think, to this, but it's still always discipleship, and it's still always identity formation. And the prayer should always be, God, who do you say I am? And because we all believe things and take directions, right? Maybe it's not surgical, but you've moved, you've blown up your marriage, you've, taken a job because you're running to Nineveh and you're running away from God is asking you to do, right? Like we all have these different ways that a false identity can play out in our lives. And to whatever degree we are aware or know we need help or don't, and most of us need way more help than we think we do, but like, God, who do you say I am? And help me know who you say I am. Help me know the journey that you have for my life. And I think it's just a submission to the Lordship of Jesus in our identity formation always. And to whatever degree he wants, and then we're discipling, and then we're pastoring, and then we're walking alongside somebody, because I do believe in genetics, and I do believe that there is a percentage of the population that has a different experience in their body. I don't know how to judge that. I just know how to say, who does Jesus say you are? Who is God who is God calling you to be? And then I just want to partner with that. So it's the simple answer to a very complicated journey.
But no, I like
very complicated.
But I like how you zoomed out to bring it into every day, because most of us aren't going to be like dealing with that, but maybe we know someone, but it's much more rare than the thing like, oh, I'm so stupid, and then I do something because I'm identifying as being stupid, like you're talking about, making an unwise choice or something unethical or immoral. And I'm living out of this false identity or false self. And so how do we bring it into, and I appreciate you saying that, because years ago, God stopped me. I said, I've made some really stupid out of my own wounding. And I was like, I'm so stupid. And I just felt this voice so loud, like, stop it, and it was the Bob Newhart thing, but I would never call you that. So don't you call yourself that. And it was like, okay. And it was just that, like you're saying, aha moment. And now when I hear people saying, my ears perk up. I say, hey, don't say that about yourself. Are you hearing what you're saying? Even if I don't know the person well, I'll stop them. But and we need each other for that, don't we? We need to remind each other of who we are.
Yeah, that's really good. And this is actually, like, we're kind of out of time on part 1, which means everybody's going to have to tune in for the rest of this, because we kind of got off on a little bit of a rabbit trail. We've only gone to phase 1.
I know, but these are all really great rabbit trails.
I know, but Jessie, what you were just saying, the whole point of phase 1 is that you were making, and that we were talking, that we sprung off of, is that identity is not a blank slate, and that we need to scaffold it. So I really appreciated that you said that. And that's why we kind of got off on a little tangent, but hey, we're going to finish this up in part 2. Are you game?
Totally. Let's do it.
I know everybody's on the edge of your seats, right? Because we didn't even get into very many of those steps. I think there's 6 and we got into 1. So, yeah.
But thank you for listening. Give us a 5-star review.
Yes.
And let us know if you didn't like it, but don't leave a bad review. I always say that. I am tongue in cheek, but seriously, we love hearing from you. We love hearing your comments and questions. So thanks for listening. Yep. We appreciate it.
See you next time. Thank you for joining us on the Face to Face podcast. For more resources and information, please visit facetofacenetwork.org.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review. It helps others discover tools for deeper connection and lasting freedom. We will see you next time.